Here we go. All right, everybody, welcome to the first fireside chat of the Filecoin Frontier Accelerator. And today we're going to talk about the Filecoin ecosystem. We're so happy to have three really experienced pillars of the Filecoin ecosystem join us today with Molly from Protocol Labs, Philip from Falcon Foundation, and Harrison from Fleek, of course. Just as a bit of context, as you know, the Filecoin Frontier Accelerator is meant to help founders, especially in Asia, to accelerate their journey towards kind of like adoption, towards building out Web 3.0. So hopefully our discussion today, while we may have a collection of questions, we'd like to kind of steer it towards like how can it be most helpful to the founders who are building in this ecosystem. And so along the way, we'll frame the discussion as that. All right. And then joining us today, we have quite a few teams. So hello, Sophia, Chase, Franklin, Mitchell. So we're gonna keep this hopefully more interactive. I've prepared like a short list of questions that hopefully will take maybe like 30 minutes or so. And we'd love to hear your questions as well. This is your chance to shine in the second half, where you can ask everyone here directly. And all of this will be recorded, so anyone who isn't able to join us in person will be able to refer to the video afterwards. Okay, great. All right, with that, let's get started. So firstly, we'd love to hear from everyone a quick introduction about yourself and how you joined the Filecoin ecosystem. Shall we start with Molly?
Sure thing. So yeah, I joined the Falcon ecosystem before Filecoin was a thing yet. I started contributing to the IPFS project early days, but part-time. I was working at Google at the time as a product manager, and eventually made the switch to start working on IPFS full-time back in 2018. And so became eventually, was involved in kind of road mapping, working with the Go IPFS working group, and then became IPFS project lead. Been leading the IPFS project for about 1.5 years, almost 2 years now. And wow, time flies. And then I joined, also started contributing to the Filecoin side of things back about 9 months ago now, and ended up working super closely with the kind of core engineering team around Filecoin at Protocol Labs. So a lot of the folks who are involved in proofs, design, crypto econ, auditing and research, and then the Lotus implementation. And I also spend a ton of time also with some of the other implementations, the team at Soromitsu, ChainSafe, and IPFS Force through the core devs meeting. And so helped set those up, and don't run them anymore, but that's an awesome place if you're excited and interested to see kind of how those implementations are evolving and have some of those protocol discussions about Filecoin. And so that's when I got involved in helping get Filecoin out the door, running Space Race, some of the other things related to that. And these days I kind of sit across a lot of the different protocols that we contribute to. So IPFS, Filecoin, libp2p, IPLD, and some others. And yeah, spend a lot of time also talking with folks like Philip and Harrison about the ways in which this ecosystem is evolving.
Great. I think this is a perfect segue to Philip.
Sure. So my journey with Falcon actually starts also way before Falcon was a thing. So I was part of an investment firm that actually invested in Protocol Labs back when it was literally only about IPFS. Truthfully, back then the investment thesis was mostly about IPFS, and Falcon was more an idea and sort of like a white paper, and that quickly changed. And then sort of I've been involved from an investor point of view. With TL, with Filecoin since then. And then I joined the Filecoin Foundation in summer of last year to kind of like help set it up, one, and then also, take over a bunch of different programs that were started within Protocol Labs, most notably the developer grants program. There's a whole bunch of initiatives around Falcon Plus, which is a program to onboard new and useful storage to the network. And also just thinking about how we can build this ecosystem, grow this ecosystem in a more sustainable way.
All right, thanks, Philip. And Harrison.
Yeah, hey everyone. I'm Harrison, co-founder at Fleek. So I guess I got into this ecosystem originally by going down the Ethereum rabbit hole. Started a company called Token Foundry that was like kind of in the like late 2016, early 2017 ICO days. And then after that, kind of got more interested in the non-financial side of like Web3 and the open web and kind of this trend. And so that's where we decided to start Fleek about 2 years ago, and have been building tools and kind of trying to help support the growth of the open web. And so IPFS is definitely at the like, I'd say like center of that work in terms of like just protocols we like strongly believe in and think will play a really big role in Web3. And then that naturally led us to Filecoin and some of the like crossover between those protocols and Textile and some of these other like supporting protocols around IPFS. So yeah, that's what we're working on. We build all sorts of products for the ecosystem. Our main, most popular product is our IPFS hosting product, but we also do storage for IPFS, and we've built now like just like a desktop and web app like Dropbox on top of IPFS. And we were hoping to announce it today, but it'll probably be Friday or Monday. But now all Fleek products will auto back up to Filecoin, so that'll be live next week too. So yeah, that's who I am and what Fleek is.
It's awesome. Thanks, Harrison. So we're hearing from like a few perspectives, right? From like the core protocol design to some and economics, different implementations to like grants program, like some of the incentivization like Falcon Plus, and also of course supporting kind of like projects that will help you host or help developers and users easily get into the ecosystem. So from all these different perspectives, where do you think are the main drivers behind the Falcon ecosystem's success and strong growth, right? We've seen, more than exabyte of storage, so many miners, so many projects already building on it. How do you think we got here? We can start with anyone, but, we can go the same sequence, I guess, Molly.
I mean, I think the crypto econ team did a phenomenal job with incentive design of this ecosystem and marketplace. Like, it's clearly a really massive fit and a great incentive for people to bring their storage capacity to the network and make it accessible to people. So like, that's phenomenal and working super well. One of the things that I think differentiates this ecosystem from a number of other blockchain ecosystems or something that's like particularly a strength of ours is just the collaborative nature of all of the different groups who are working within this space and how easy it is to kind of have these groups build on top of each other. Like, I think Fleek's a phenomenal example here of like collaborating with groups like Ceramic and Textile and others, like, and you can build up a stack, having these tools fit together and kind of modularly composing applications on top, which I think just the way in which this ecosystem collaborates is a huge strength of ours that enables many groups to find a strong foothold and push their development and finding users forward. And so I think that's really strong. I also think that the opportunity around interoperating with other blockchains, with other networks, one of the nice things about kind of storage is it's very, it's needed in all sorts of different contexts. And there's, a lot of opportunity to take this and make it accessible in a lot of other places really easily. And so that's actually something that I think, now we are starting to see that happen. The Falcoin has gone from going 0 to 1 of like existing as a storage option to now becoming a really accessible and easy to use storage tool within many different ecosystems and networks. And so I think that's something that we're seeing the capacity come online, and now it's actually getting that capacity utilized in all of these other places. And I think that's, that's our next challenge, and also just a massive opportunity for groups to do that really well with good user experience.
Yeah, I was just going to on a pile on what Molly said. Kind of IPFS, I think, has sort of been a huge force in sort of driving the early success of Filecoin. If you think about it, IPFS has been around for I think since 2015, 2016. So super long time. And I think many of sort of the early demand cases on Falcon actually have been building on IPFS before. So a lot of people have already been part of the community for many years. And I think also that ecosystem around IPFS has given birth to many, interesting companies. I think Fleek is a good example. Textiles another one, Pinata. Companies that really have acted as sort of like super nodes or super promoters for the Falcon ecosystem, really helping onboard more generations of developers into the stack. And I think that has really been a key success driver. And then another thing that Molly mentioned, I just want to highlight it again, is sort of like the common denominator across all these different blockchain ecosystems is they all need storage. So, it's been very easy for Filecoin to collaborate and really kind of play friends with everyone. And I think that has really helped to drive a huge surge in interest from developers, also from other blockchain ecosystems.
Yeah, for sure. Harrison.
Yeah. Hey, sorry. I would also add, I definitely agree with the points mentioned so far, but as a Protocol Labs or Filecoin Foundation member and third party, I would say the work Protocol Labs has done, building a community, just organizing hackathons, incentivizing usage with definitely the crypto economics of the Filecoin token, but also these programs they've been running to incentivize people to store, build applications, aligning super closely with the Ethereum community and sort of doubling down. Stop it. Doubling down on those use cases that worked super well, where the Ethereum community is testing a lot of narratives like NFTs, turning all digital content into NFTs, some of these things where a lot of that full narrative doesn't happen on Ethereum alone, but happens on IPFS, where there's data or storage or file requirements that just don't make sense to put on chain on Ethereum. And so I think Protocol Labs has done a really good job of understanding those trends and understanding that IPFS was amazing, and where can Filecoin fit in as an added layer to that, to now take these narratives and use cases on Ethereum that are working to the next level. And I think that's been working really well. So yeah, I'd say in addition to the other points brought up, I think that is a very underappreciated point. And I think Protocol Labs put on a masterclass in terms of how to launch a new protocol and get a community inspired and fired up. So yeah.
Back in the days, Falcon was also supposed to be built on Ethereum. I think the early plans for Falcon was for it to be a smart contract on Ethereum. So there's a really strong tie between those two communities.
Yeah. So we talked about the inclusive technology, as well as the in terms of people and ideas, and also of course having a lot of these programs to incentivize. So shall we get to some specifics on what some examples you think will be the most helpful to founders here? What it could be what players, what programs, or what tools or platforms that everybody should definitely pay attention to. Let's switch it up and start with Harrison. I think given Fleek is one of them.
Sure. So we're definitely trying to help new entrepreneurs and make it easier. We for the past 6 months, we're trying to build a new product called Space Storage, for example, which was like a Dropbox type application, kind of like trying to be like what Signal is to messaging, but for storage, and built on this new stack of IPFS textile Filecoin. And it was extremely hard. So we learned a lot through that process and open sourced a lot of the tools. So one, just because we released it today, is called the Space Sdk. So basically we started with a Space daemon, which was to build desktop apps. And the reason we started with a desktop app is because in order to get like most of the benefits of IPFS, it's super cool if you could have like an embedded IPFS node, which like you've now seen Brave is moving in the direction of that. They added a native IPFS node. So it'll make things a lot easier in the future rather than having to try to put one in every app or in every desktop app. But we obviously realized that a desktop app is a lot more friction. So we wanted to build like a web app and launch with that first. So we needed to then also create not just the Space daemon, which was very desktop focused, but a framework that also worked to basically abstract away a lot of the complexities of building on top of these protocols. So IPFS, Textile, Filecoin, GunDB, etc., to actually create like an app that, you know, has encryption, you know, user owned data, all these things and these principles of Web3 in it, and make it easy. So we spent those 6 months figuring out how to do that. And now that we just put out an intro blog to that Space SDK today. So I'd say that's a super cool one that our goal is to help make it super easy for people to build apps like this on top of these technologies. But also, yeah, I would say like the work Textile's done with PowerGate is phenomenal. So I would say like hats off to them. And that's a team I would recommend everybody building in the space to communicate with. And I would also recommend like the, you know, teams at IPFS and Filecoin are super generous with their time. So like they are also like, I would say for a new team entering the space and looking to build, like another thing as Fleek, we really appreciated building our products is how hands-on and the amount of feedback and support we were given from Protocol Labs, even as the ecosystem's grown. You know, they've still, you know, given a lot of individual attention that really has made a difference. So those in particular stand out, but there's a lot of great companies. There are others I didn't mention that are super like great. But for us personally, those two groups were like exceptionally helpful.
Awesome, Harrison. Just a quick one. If anybody wants to check out the kind of desktop apps or the parts where you abstracted away a lot of the Web3 features, where can they find them?
Oh, sure. I'll post the links in the chat. Just give me 1 second.
Yeah, we'll do that as we go around.
Okay, cool. All
right, Philip, what do you think?
Yeah, I was also going to mention Flake and Textile very obviously, but I'll throw two more into this room. First one being Pinata. I think it's an exceptional organization. They came out of an early Ethereum hackathon, I think in Denver in 2018. And it's really a pinning service for IPFS. So it allows you to add a layer of persistency, and it also to experiment with, you know, different types of use cases that, you know, you could build on Falcon effectively today. But, you know, if you would try to integrate or build on Falcon without using sort of like a middle caching layer, it may not be possible. So that's a very good tool. Another one would just be Infura, which has been exceptionally helpful in the Ethereum community, but also, you know, provides an IPFS API gateway. So I think these two teams really stand out for, you know, just broader ecosystem support and really, you know, allowing developers and making it much easier for people to access these protocols.
Awesome. Thanks, Philip. Yes, Molly.
I guess I'll go a layer down from all the amazing folks in the ecosystem, because there's a lot of them and it's amazing, down to like some of the like places that you might want to collaborate with builders when it comes to making changes to the protocol or utilizing some of the ongoing programs. So one that I think is pretty close to Philip's heart is the Falcon Plus program and Slingshot, which is kind of competition to help people be utilizing the network and kind of doing that on-ramp of making it a really, really easy place to onboard data. And I think those are super awesome programs to find miners and data storage clients and other groups who are kind of in that early adopter phase, got started on the network, on day one, storing data on mainnet. And so that's a good place to go to hear all the tips and tricks. And there's like Slack channels, and Falcon Plus has kind of a regular governance call as well about new notaries and getting data cap, which allows you to store massive amounts of data on the Filecoin network, and that's highly incentivized for miners to take those deals. And so would encourage you, especially if you're working to get data stored on the network quickly and efficiently, to talk to some of those groups. If you are thinking about protocol level improvements, or you have things about the Filecoin or IPFS protocols that you'd like to see improved, or maybe you want to upstream pull requests or things like that, I'd point you to the Filecoin core devs. There's a bi-weekly meeting, it's recorded, put up on YouTube. There's an agenda ahead of time as well, where if you have like a FIP or a Filecoin improvement proposal, that would go through that sort of a process, and it's open to anyone to make these sorts of improvements and recommendations. On the IPFS side, there are weekly meetings about the core implementations, where there are regular updates about ongoing work. And if you say have a pull request that you want to be improving something, that's a great forum as well to go share your work, get questions answered, whatever it is, in real time. And so would recommend those forums. If you're more on the async side of things, there's also pretty heavy use of Discuss forums. Filecoin uses GitHub Discuss. IPFS has a discourse, so discuss.ipfs.io. That's a great place to see tons of past questions and things that have been resolved. And it has people from the community monitoring and responding to, like, you can post like, here are weird error logs, help me debug what's happening here, and you'll get some good responses there. And then I highly recommend you guys come and present it at meetups. Both IPFS and Filecoin have regular meetups, I think like monthly, for community demos and stuff. We just had one for IPFS last week. And so it's a great opportunity to be able to like do a little lightning talk about the work that you're doing, get some excited folks who maybe want to help contribute, have ideas, have questions, give a visibility. We record all of them and put them up on YouTube. So these are less teams you should know and ways of interfacing with these communities that can be super helpful for you guys to increase your prominence, find other contributors, find people to collaborate with. And so that's a great thing as well. The last thing I'll shout out, which is not a platform, but an idea. But I think, as Harrison was mentioning, I think NFTs are going to be super cool this year. So there's some cool groups who are doing stuff in that space. And when it comes to being the kind of bridge between NFT marketplaces and communities and massive amounts of storage capacity, that can be a really great match, especially for larger NFTs that really could not fit on whatever blockchain they're living on. So I think there's some cool groups like OpenSea and forgetting the name of this one. It's not Forge, maybe it's Rogue, something like that. That's like a new NFT marketplace built on IPFS as well. And so some cool opportunities there.
All right, lots to digest there, Molly. Thank you very much. Now, since we were talking already about some error logs and feedback and improvement proposals, it's a perfect transition to our next question, just to a bit of reflection, right? Like, while we have a great ecosystem and lots of support, where are some areas where it's still a little bit soft and probably could use some more development, probably some pitfalls to watch out for? So Molly, would you like to get us started on that?
Sure. I mean, two areas that were problems last year that have seen a lot of improvement. The first one, which was like the main IPFS focus for last year, was around content routing performance, how quickly you can discover content in the IPFS network. So we made a whole ton of improvements to that. And that's now, at least according to folks like Harrison and Andrew and other folks in the ecosystem, much less of a problem than it was. On the Filecoin side of things, we were struggling around making sure that deals and like the way that you make deals in the network is reliable and that you can make deals efficiently. And so that was an area that was a pain point that we've made a ton of fixes and improvements and is now much less of a pain point. And so deal success rate is way up. I think there's still more opportunity there around how quickly you can make deals, especially retrieval deals with folks. And so something that we're hearing from folks is just like the round, if you truly want to wait for a storage deal to complete before you check it off to your user, or for a retrieval deal to land on chain before you start retrieving a file, there's annoying blockchain latency in there, and I think there's opportunity to do some easy workarounds that'll actually abstract that latency from end users. So one example that we've been thinking about is around Filecoin Gateways. So just Filecoin equipping the IPFS gateway and making it so that of the miners that are storing data, we have open payment channels with all of them, so that we don't have to wait the 30 seconds for a payment channel to land on chain before we can just start retrieving data from the miners. And it's like, well, at this current scale, that's totally doable. If we had 10,000 miners all storing data, that might be a problem. But like today, there's definitely easy ways for us to work around some of those challenges. Some other areas, yeah, I think in general, there's definitely still rough edges, as Harrison, I'm sure, will probably tell you and point out a couple of things. And so being able to take the complexity and abstract it away from end users, so that what you present to the folks you're using doesn't require a whole ton of configuration or a lot of decisions. The tools, the protocols themselves are highly configurable because they want to make all sorts of things possible, but that can make them complicated. And so I think an area that a lot of groups like Pinata, like Fleek, like Textile have come in and added a ton of value is abstracting a good amount of that complexity away and doing a set of things very well within a kind of more constrained framework. And so we've seen beautiful things like Slate then built on top of those rails, just making it easier and easier and more beautiful, because you don't have to deal with all of the complexity under the hood. And so that's like a great reason to build on top of some of the tools that Fleek and Textile have created, because it allows you to kind of work another layer up the stack and just spend more time on things like front ends. But if you then want more configuration, you then have to like maybe straddle that challenge a little bit more. I guess other things, like obviously there's like still a lot of demand for increasing network storage capacity. More miners want to join the network. That they're going to probably constantly take up over 100% of chain bandwidth, but we're definitely doing work there to make the network more efficient. On the IPFS side of things, there's definitely a lot of work to make pinning content more efficient, so that you can provide large amounts of content to the network more efficiently. So a lot of just like making sure the building blocks are nice, modular, make sense, and are performant is a lot of the stuff that our team's looking at.
Thank you, Molly. A lot there to digest once more. And actually, a couple of teams are working on some video conferencing solutions that will require some of that fast retrieval or some caching kind of things. So yeah, I think this will be very relevant when we get to Q&A as well. Yeah. Harrison, would you like to jump in here?
Sure. Yeah, I think I don't have too much new to add. I would just say, I think like there's an opportunity to really tightly integrate Filecoin with IPFS, like because there's a lot of IPFS users right now, and they are currently using things like Fleek or Pinata to kind of like pin things on IPFS. But as these retrieval markets kind of come to fruition and it becomes more of like a performance layer for Filecoin, but also like you don't have to pay for storage twice to put it on IPFS and Filecoin, there I think like will unlock like a lot of cool potential where it'll just be a no-brainer for like every NFT to be on Filecoin, but also keep the benefits of IPFS and the unique content hash and stuff. And then the one thing that we like think would be a really cool thing for the ecosystem is like a lot of people are now understanding oh, well, you don't want all your files open for everyone to see. So encryption is important. And so there's like the Ethereum ecosystem where everyone now has a MetaMask and like has an F wallet. And so if we could somehow make it so just with your F wallet, you know, you could encrypt or unencrypt files on IPFS, then that would make things super cool, because then for NFTs or for, you know, a ton of use cases, like with Brave's browser, for example, natively integrating an IPFS node. So now they natively have a F wallet and they natively have an IPFS node. So if you were able to just with those two things handle encrypting and unencrypting files, and only the user can unencrypt them, but it's based on the like wallet that lives in their browser, or, you know, is on their, you know, plugin bar just because they already have MetaMask, that I feel like would make things just so seamless and cool that I know it would take some work, and like it's not an immediate thing, but I think once that gap sort of gets filled, that will be like another inflection point where it'll just like, and MetaMask like has hinted that they're going to add a Filecoin wallet, so it could actually happen sooner. I don't know all the details of what that will enable, but like I do think that's a pretty cool one, that if and when it happens, it'll be, yeah, epic.
Yeah, I know some folks have also been talking about using NFTs for like access tokens, which sounds super cool. So like, you know, I think there's a couple of different, you know, buying an NFT or having a DID or some of these ways of like using these things to then access content in IPFS or Filecoin sounds super interesting.
Mm-hmm. All right, thanks, Harrison, as well. Now, rounding it off, Philip, as we're about to hit 2 questions.
Yes, I'm not going to add much more. I think all the relevant things have been already said, but I think just kind of like, you know, thinking into the future, you know, so the obvious gaps are really kind of like the retrieval market. Really, that will unlock so many different new use cases to be built natively on Filecoin. And then if you think even further to that, if you would also kind of like enable computation, so you would have a VM on Filecoin, so you would bring computation, you know, to the file and not kind of like have the file go to wherever the computation is happening. I think you know, projecting that into the future is a fairly promising point of view. And then, you know, just broadly kind of like in terms of like, you know, also administering the dev grants program, you know, what we're really going to be focusing on this year is really the demand side of the network, right? So I think to what Molly said in the beginning, sort of the supply side, so really kind of the incentives really seem to work. There's a huge amount of storage that has been onboarded, a huge amount of storage that wants to be onboarded to the network, but really kind of like, you know, enabling or helping set up developers for success to build, you know, these really big demand drivers on the network in whatever way possible. That is really a key focus. And then I think there's a whole bunch of tooling that is really critical for, you know, Filecoin Plus. Or experiment in distributed governance. We'll be, you know, building a bunch of stuff, but yeah, I think nothing much more to add than what Molly and Harrison already said.
Philip, do you want to maybe drop any links? Like I just imagine that as these groups get setting up, like they're all going to want data cap, and they're going to want it yesterday, and they're going to want to be storing lots of data to Filecoin because they have all of this transcoded video or all of this, that, or the other thing, and you know, they'll probably want that yesterday, and we should give them the links as soon as possible.
Yeah, I'll add 2 links. I'll add a link for a blog post that explains the Falcon Plus program, and I'll add a link that enables people to sign up or apply for data cap, so verified storage on the Falcon network.
Awesome, awesome. So as you're doing that, I'm going to invite some teams here to come up and introduce themselves and also ask your questions. Just going by who I see on the video up here, Mitchell, would you like to come on and share about non-entropy tech and any questions you might have?
Hi. So we are a team from non-entropy tech, and we are doing a project about, so it's just like Coursera, but on Filecoin, because we think about the scenarios of how we can use Filecoin, because so far the like it's kind of disadvantage of using Filecoin is that it takes time, a fairly long time to unseal what we store on Filecoin. So we are thinking about, so just like to use PowerGate, we can use, so when people are learning about courses, they have, there are some popular courses that we can store on IPFS, which can be accessed very quickly. And for some less popular courses, the learners can wait. They can make an appointment about what courses they would like to learn. And that gives us time to unseal what they need. So that's what we think about how to use Filecoin properly.
Yeah, I think one thing to think about when it relates to, so there definitely is the challenge you're describing where it takes time to seal and it takes resources to unseal data once it's cryptographically stored in Filecoin and being proved by the network. And right now, actually, one of the things we implemented in the lead up to the network relating to the needs of dApp developers who are going to need fast retrieval of data and wouldn't have the time to wait for that data to be unsealed. We added a bit that you can set that I believe is set by default when you're using the CLI, but maybe not the API, which is to say, I want fast retrieval of this data. Please keep an unsealed copy. And that actually helps the miner in many cases, because then they don't have to spend the resources to unseal that file. And it's non-trivial resources. It is literally less costly for them just to keep a copy around and not have to spend those resources to unseal. And so if you set that bit, and that bit is definitely set by default in one case, and it's reasonable for this bit to be set for Filecoin Plus deals as well, you can get as fast retrieval from a Filecoin miner as from an IPFS node, as long as you already have a payment channel set up with said miner. And the payment channel is how effectively you lock up some Filecoin tokens, and then as a client fetches data from a miner, those tokens become unlocked kind of progressively over time. And so kind of the thought process there is like, let's figure out how we can condense as much of that retrieval latency as we can. And we're actively investigating, are there different ways for us to structure payment channels that like actually have even less than the 30-second block time latency of putting a payment channel on chain, that can then make it so that you wouldn't even need to register for an upcoming time. You could just retrieve from miners who are storing an unsealed copy of your courses and not have to wait for that. And so I think that's a reasonable thing to ask of the miners that you work with, kind of in the retrieval or the upfront storage deals that you make.
I see. Thank you.
Thank you, guys. I think in the interest of time, we have to move to the next team. But we can connect one-on-one after the event as well. Yeah, thanks, Mitchell. All right. Now, next, actually like to jump a little bit. I see actually Kimmy on here, and I know they've been doing a lot of mining and now moving into like applications. Kimmy, do you want to come on and introduce yourself and ask any questions?
Oh, hey guys. So we're doing our project is called Fieldbox, and probably so we're involved in both Slingshot as well as Filecoin Plus. So so actually, while we're doing Slingshot, we do meet a bit of retrieval issues there, which Molly has just mentioned, and so actually, I wonder in terms of maybe Filecoin Plus, like. I mean, this is a bit of side questions, but like, are we gonna have more? I mean, the notary registration has already begun, so are we gonna be able to apply for more data cap like now from Philip as well? I mean, because previously you are the only notary out there, and sorry, I just asked a random question.
No, totally fine. Thank you for your question. so yeah, maybe a bit of context. So like the Falcon Plus program is this program to onboard useful storage to the network. So if there's a community governance system that sort of like decides on notaries, and notaries are effectively the entities that get to decide on what is useful storage. And useful storage, if it gets if a miner accepts a Falcon Plus deal, which is verified storage, then that miner gets a 10x boost on the block reward. So there's a huge incentive for miners to actually provide storage capacity to actual useful storage. And in the beginning of the program, there was literally only one notary, which was myself, the Falcon Foundation. And that was because we were testing out the system. But now we actually had a round of governance where we had a whole bunch of different people apply to become a notary on the system. And now I believe in China, at least, there should be 4 or 5 notaries that are available right now. And yes, you can certainly reapply for more data cap. Highly encourage you to apply with notaries in China, but you of course can also apply with the foundation, which is based in Europe, but it frankly doesn't matter as much. So there's a whole bunch of different notaries that are available now.
Right. Yeah.
I think there's also an open FIP for renewing data cap instead of having to like get a new ID for it. Just logistics. But yes, I think the aim is to, when people utilize their data cap for useful things, to give them more.
Yeah. Do you have to use up like the like all of the data cap that you have been allocated? Because we've got about like 200 maybe gigabytes data cap left, but like do we have to spend it all like in order to get renewed? Or
I think you should be close to be spending it all to renew it, but if you have still only a bit left, then that's no problem.
Okay, cool.
I think before the FIP lands, you'll get new data cap at a new address. And so after we get this FIP approved and we make whatever implementation changes across the implementations that'll be necessary, then you'll be able to just get more data cap at your same address. But I think for right now, you'll end up with like 2 different addresses with 2 different amounts of data cap.
Okay, cool. So I'll ask a bit of these questions because it's related to the storage part of our application. Yeah.
Okay. Thanks,
Thank
Kimmy.
you. Thank you.
We can connect afterwards as well. Okay. Next, in the interest of time, I'd like to actually call on 2 teams who are like quite related, Chase and Ricken, given you're both working on, it's kind of like media, NFTs related. So would you like to come on and introduce yourself and ask some questions?
Sure. Well, Ricken, you go first.
Go for it.
Right. Hi, everyone. My name is Chase. I'm the CEO and co-founder of OP Games. It's just interesting. I don't have like a solid specific question to begin with. We're new to the Falcon ecosystem, but back in 2017, late 2017 actually, I co-founded a company called Alto.io, which is an NFT foundry platform. And at that time, one of the basic questions we have during the time when CryptoPunks came out and CryptoKitties came out was, is NFT fully decentralized? And the answer isn't really a yes, because of the fact that metadata isn't stored anywhere that's decentralized. And that's where the conversation about Filecoin came in as well. And so now that we somewhat pivoted from NFTs over to game tournaments, we're looking for creative ways as to how we could go ahead and leverage on Filecoin. And one of the things we're thinking about is leveraging our anti-fraud system with a replay system that's stored within the Filecoin. So essentially what we're trying to do here is, because it's a competitive game, people can now find out whether or not there's something fishy going on just by retrieving this this replace that's stored in Filecoin, as opposed to us storing it ourselves with an AWS server or whatnot. And then we're going to also reignite our NFT foundry into the platform that we're building now, so that there's like the reward system are in the form of NFTs. So it's just like, well, first off, thank you for showing us all of these resources that we could potentially leverage on, because at the beginning we thought we have to build everything ourselves. And me not being so technical was quite worried about telling my CTO how to do all of these things. But it seems like things are fully set into motion. So happy to learn more and connect with you guys should it ever come up that we have more questions about it.
Tiny side nudge. I know I want to give Rick time to introduce himself as well, but something that I think might resonate super well with the idea you just posed around having replays of games is this idea of kind of having a data commons where people can like augment and reuse a collective data set. And it's an idea that like works on Filecoin in a way that like is literally impossible on any other centralized platform where some entity holds the data and like has to then decide to make it accessible to others. If it's a collective pool of data, then people can augment and add to it. My boyfriend loves watching replays of StarCraft where someone like dubs over and narrates the game and then like, you know, makes commentary. You could do like a TikTok like commentary thing on top of game replays. That could be so fun. And it would be possible on a decentralized storage network in a way that it would never be possible anywhere else. So
Exactly.
Random idea, but I love what you're talking about. It sounds super cool.
Perfect. Thanks, guys.
Thanks, Chase. My name is Rick Montre. I'm the CEO and president of Curio. Curio is first and foremost a site for fandom for digital collectibles. And so how we think about it is using NFTs as a mechanism for having a direct connection between content owners, content creators, and their fans. So think right now, if you're a major TV show, you have to go through Netflix, or you have to go through Amazon, or you go through these intermediaries. We see it as a world eventually that the world's, you know who your super fans are if they purchase a digital collectible, and that's a mechanism for rewarding and offering VIP experiences to them. And so it's super interesting from a sense of having this NFTs and Filecoin. How are you guys thinking about that specifically for NFTs, I guess?
I think probably Harrison's like one step closer to this because he spends more time in the Ethereum ecosystem than I do. But I know there's a number of groups like many of the NFT marketplaces right now they use IPFS hashes and they take all of the data and put it on IPFS about their NFTs, and then they put the IPFS CID into the Ethereum blockchain. And so that's already kind of the default for how OpenSea and a lot of other marketplaces work. And so one of the ideas that we've talked about, which is kind of a layer of, you can do it in a lot of different ways, but effectively you can have collections of NFTs that then get stored and backed up to Filecoin and augmented over time. And think of it kind of like as a thread or a bucket, a pin set of NFTs that then kind of are Filecoin backed in that way. And so the Textile folks have been working on a bucket API that just lets you pin and store the contents of a thread to Filecoin. And so you could have a thread that is just every new minted NFT,
like you
and
access
you could have
it fast,
a
basically.
community that all together like put some amount of Filecoin into a wallet, and then that whole thread is just persisted to Filecoin together. And then no one needs to worry about like, is my NFT safe? Because Filecoin, like that whole thread is being persisted there. So that's the current thought, but I think there's more here. It's early days and new ideas for how we can make it even better and add new tooling around it would be great.
Yeah, and I know Juan is running late. We were actually on an investor call, so I jumped from that to this, and so he's coming on in about 10 minutes. So I think he had some questions as well. So maybe we can come back to Shika. We can maybe come back to Curio.
Yeah. Hopefully, if everyone here is able.
If we have time. Yeah.
Harrison,
exactly.
do you want to add anything to that just now?
Yeah, I was just I could just add, like, I think it'll pretty much stay very similar to how it works now with like the trend that's already happening with, basically the NFT is mapped to a unique content hash on IPFS. And since, those hashes are unique to that piece of content and there's no duplicates ever, it's a great mechanism for NFTs for like authentication and authenticity and so on and so forth. And Filecoin, the way I would see it is the NFT when it's created, like you would just pay upfront for a certain amount of storage for that NFT. So you could think about it like if an artist wanted to mint 100 new NFTs, he could just choose an option to say like, I want to pay for these to be backed up to Filecoin for a year or 3 years or 10 years or 99 years, whatever they decide. And basically that solves a big problem in the NFT industry right now, where all of the pinning to IPFS that is required to keep these pieces of crypto art or NFTs on the network is basically being subsidized by the NFT platforms like OpenSea or Super Rare or whomever who's paying.
Or Curio.
So long term, that should probably switch to the artist baking it into the cost of the item, where even when it's purchased, maybe you have an option to purchase it with a year of storage or 3 years of storage or whatever the buyer decides, and then make it super seamless for them to auto renew those deals over time. So that's where I think it'll go. And that's why as IPFS and Filecoin become more natively integrated with the retrieval markets, it'll be super seamless. And then you don't really have to change anything about the way NFTs work. You just add this option to make it better and solve that issue where you don't have to worry as much of the platform going down and your image being lost or something.
You lose the NFT, yeah, right.
Yeah. I think there's an option here as well. Like, I totally agree with what Harrison was saying, but I think there's also, you can expose these controls to the user. I think probably most people will be like, I don't want to worry about it. Just make sure my NFT never goes away. Like, I bought a car, don't make sure my car's around.
Right.
And like, given that there's it would be cool to have things like data DAOs or something that, like, as a collective, all of the NFTs that are being minted here have like what is that thing that an endowment, have an NFT endowment for this collection that makes sure that this data is being backed up. And I think that's actually a really useful kind of layer on top of a storage marketplace that allows you to, when the token is minted, as Harrison was saying, like a certain amount of the minting funds are resourced for storage, and then everyone adds it to kind of a collective NFT collection persistence pool that makes sure that the whole collection is being backed up forever and keeps refreshing and renewing storage deals as needed, kind of under the hood. But you don't have to expose that directly to users, because like, who's going to say, yes, I paid for this NFT, but no, I want it to like expire and not be stored anymore. Like, I can't think of anyone who would like not want it to just happen automatically for them. And I think there's an opportunity to take these building blocks and make that experience really easy and default. Yeah,
I really like that idea. I think we want as the user, from the user side, we don't want to. We were trying to kind of make it more simple and in an easy user experience. But if they do know that that they're contributing to kind of the greater good because they have shared incentives and shared interests, that makes a lot of sense.
Thanks, guys. Sorry, I still have to push in the interest of time. Just a quick check on Molly, Philip, and Harrison. Do you have any hard cutoff in a few minutes? Or we're okay to overrun a little bit because we have 2 more teams who are here today. Okay, great. Maybe I'd like to call on Sophia.
Okay. Hi, everyone, and thanks, Molly and Philip and Harrison, for your sharing today. I kind of learning a lot today because I'm more in a marketing side, not on technical side. So it's kind of a lot of like new words for me. But I know that our engineer team is working with Filecoin with I think it's an archive project, but I don't really know the details. But since numbers, we create blockchain camera to help user capture the important moment and then help them to seal it. So it's kind of the key technology for us about the storage side. So yeah, so I don't really have any technical way questions, but thanks for your sharing.
Are you guys working at all with the Starling Foundation?
Yes.
Awesome. Super cool. I love the work that they're doing. So
Yeah.
excited you guys are working together.
And actually, we're thinking that to doing something in Taiwan too, because the Starling now is working in more in America. So yeah, we're thinking to maybe sell something in Taiwan too. Yeah, thanks.
It's amazing.
Yes, I think a lot of us are very excited about the numbers implementations, from the elections, and hopefully more to come. Thanks, Sophia. All right, Franklin from Sinsu Medical, are you with us? Hello, Franklin.
Okay.
Yeah, would you like to come on and introduce yourself and ask any questions you might have? Because I know you have a lot of medical data from hundreds of hospitals that you're going to put on Falcon IPFS.
Can I speak Chinese?
I could help translate if that's an issue.
我是在2017年开始做这个 IPFS 方面的这个探索的。
Yeah, started exploring IPFS in 2017.
当时呢，我们是把那个医疗的一个基因大数据呢，在 IPFS 网络上面做了一些测试。
Right, medical big data, they put it on IPFS for some testing.
当时我对 IPFS 网络的这个速度呢还是非常满意的，而且呢，它的这个文件系统的这个效率，我觉得已经进入到一个实用化的一个状态。
Right, and they're actually very happy with the performance and the speed of the IPFS. Even back then, for the large amount of data, it was actually DNA data that they were using.
所以说我在2018年的时候呢，就鼓励我们的技术团队呢，想基于这个 Filecoin 呢，想开发一个Web3的一个医疗的一个基础设施架构，让人们能够更多的存储医疗数据在这个网络上面。
Yeah, so in 2018, he started asking his engineers to look into how to use Filecoin for this kind of foundational infrastructure for all of medical data.
大家都知道，现在的医疗数据呢都是比较分散的。那么在整个医疗信息化里面，它是以机构为中心的，但是它不是以患者为中心的。
Yeah, currently the data perspective for data model is very much focused on by the institutions or hospitals storing it and not the users. So that's what Sinso is trying to change.
所以说现在的医疗的整个生态呢，它是必须要建立以患者为中心的，让患者能够主动参与管理他自己的健康，并且把健康数据作为一个个人持久的一个数据的一个资产。
Yeah, so he wants at Sinso we're trying to give the users the control to upload the data and control their health and decide what they want to do with it.
所以说我看到 Filecoin 这样的一个体系架构，最主要的是它有一种激励的一种网络，并且能够持久的存储，也可以选择分享或者加密这样的一套系统。我觉得对医疗行业来说是一个伟大的一个变革。
Yeah, so the importance and greatness of Falcon is in having that incentivization and persistence for this data and allowing encryption, some private functions. So he thinks it's really great to have Falcon.
所以说我们的小伙伴呢，在今年开始呢，就在筹划一个程序，那么就是用 Filecoin 来构建一个医学影像的一个存储和分享的这么一套系统。
All right, what we're currently working on is something for the medical images because that and the storage and sharing of those images, which can be really large.
当然，我们知道，如果说仅仅是做一个基于区块链或者说基于 Filecoin 这样的一个病例的一个文档管理系统的话，人们是没有太多的兴趣去直接录入他的个人病例的，但是我们会加入一些激励的方式。
Right. So most people may not, they don't feel the need to like download their data and store it and then control it. So they will add some sort of incentivizations for the users to do so.
比如说，我们会提供一个非常好的医生做这个在线的诊断和问诊，帮助患者自然而然的形成他的病历。
Yeah, so for example, we'll have telemedicine where you can get top doctors. If the user controls the data, you can get doctors from anywhere to then diagnose you and be able to see your entire medical history and all your records.
在整个程序当中，我们会在中提示他，这些数据就是他个人的一个最重要的资产。那如果说这些资产能够持久的保存下来，并且我们通过一个数据经纪人能够让它变现的话，那么它的价值，用户在未来就会意识到。
Yeah, so if they're able to make use of their medical records and they're having all in one place and being able to apply that in various scenarios, that then they will actually feel that it is a valuable solution. Frank, 有什么问题可以直接想问的吗？
其他的没什么，其他就是说是，我想问一下，就是关于这个 Molly 前面提到的一个，就是有一些人如果说他没有这个持续的，就是相当于提供fair存储的话，那么这些数据有可能就会丢失，是不是？前面 Molly 是不是在提到有一个这个关于到有一个什么捐赠基金，还是一个什么这种方式能够持续保存这个有价值的信息？就是 Molly 给我回答一下。
Yeah, 好的。Yeah, I asked him to cut to the chase of the questions because the intro was quite long. And he's interested about the persistence of data. And you know, we talked about like paying Falcon, but there could also the idea of the data DAOs that Molly mentioned. He's really interested in that, and would love to understand a bit better how would that work for something like this.
Yeah, that's an interesting question. I've been thinking about it more for like open access data sets where many people want to contribute to the same like pool of data, where, you know, think of it like you might have many clients who are all making deals with different miners, but then they're keeping a collective ledger of the deals that they've made with the different miners. And then they all contribute to and use maybe a shared like smart contract to pay for this data, like they effectively have a shared Filecoin wallet that is then able to kind of pay for the various deals. And then so as people add more data, retrieve data that they are all contributing to and pulling from the same collection of data, because that's maintained together kind of in a single smart contract. And so that was the high level idea. I guess you could apply it to this context. You know, again, it's personal data, so you'd want it to all be individually encrypted by different individuals so that not other people can't see your health history, your health images. But you could effectively, you know, think of there being a smart contract or something that's a collective pool of resources that's helping make sure this data is persisted on the network, and then it can be funding itself back to that data DAO. And so that's maybe an interesting question. If you think of like machine learning data sets, not quite sure how to do this with the encryption context, but you know, if it were open access data, that data could make its own funds back to its collective wallet, its collective pool of resources by, say, allowing machine learning algorithm to run on top of that data set and charging it a fee for that. It could then, you know, collect those resources and then put those resources towards, you know, storing or proliferating that data set over time. And so maybe a little, I'm not sure what the incentive mechanism that you could use to pay for the storage would be in this particular case, but the high level idea of like, instead of thinking it as every individual storing their data, thinking of it as a community that's able to collectively contribute resources, and then you can make larger deals because you're, you know, aggregating your data over more individuals. You can do like kind of top ups, you know, kind of, you think of these are the things that have changed since the last time that we stored a snapshot, and we want to now back up this additional information. Being able to aggregate that across multiple people can help as well. the encryption part is like maybe the open question there to figure out how to make sure that that works. But that was the idea around data DAOs that we think has some potential for adding just like a more community aspect instead of an individualist aspect to participating in the network. That was a lot of information though.
我简单听的大概的意思就是，Molly 有一个想法，就是建立一个数据的一个公共级的一个交易市场。那么正好呢，在医疗行业呢，我觉得这个想法是成立的，就是保险公司和药厂是可以为这个 AI 训练这一块是付费的。我们通过一种激励的方式可以找到买单方，解决这个问题。
对，所以Molly说就是当这些机构，比如说付费给这些 AI computation 的时候，那个费用可以把打回进去这个智能合约，然后就可以把它用来就存储给这些所有的数据长期的存储。
也就相当于是这个药厂和这个保险公司可以给矿工支付这个存储费用。
对。
然后那个用户呢，他会有这样的一个但是用户必须按照我们的一个规则去整理他的数据，变成一个公共训练集。对，完全匹配的。
对，所有的数据也是虽然是个人加密的，不过他们就可以放在一个共用的一个可能像个共用的钱包，还是一个智能合约。
对，你给 Molly 说，这就是我们下一步要做的事情，完全可行。
Yeah, so he said that's perfect. It's pretty much really in line with their vision, and they were already thinking along the same line. So very happy to hear that as well.
Thank you, Molly. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm very excited to see what you guys build. I think it'll be awesome.
All right. Okay, I think with that, we have actually run out of time. I know just now, Ricken mentioned Juan might come on as well. I think he's not here yet, but there will be opportunities to connect after the event as well. So Molly, Philip, and Harrison are all mentors of the Filecoin Frontier Accelerator. So let's this is just the beginning for the intro to the ecosystem. Hope all the content is helpful. Thank you so much again, Molly, Philip, Harrison, for dialing in. I know it's late or it's in the evening, for making time, and we hope to continue engaging you in this program. And thanks everybody for tuning in and coming for your questions as well. Can we just stay for a very quick group photo? I'm just gonna take a quick one. 1, 2, 3. All right, nice. Thanks everyone.
Great.
Thanks everyone.
Thank you.
Thanks guys.
Thank you for having us.
Have a good day.
I'm so excited.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.